Hi, this is Chris from the Stephanie Miller Show. Please enjoy this exclusive clip from Political Voices Network.
Well, Mr. President-elect and former President, thank you. Donald, congratulations. Thank you. And looking forward to having like we said, a smooth transition. Do everything we can to make sure you're accommodated, what you need. And we're going to get a chance to talk about some of that today. So
good.
Welcome
Thank
back.
you. And, thank you very much. And politics is tough, and it's in many cases not a very nice world, but it is a nice world today, and I appreciate it very much. And a transition that's so smooth, it'll be as smooth as it can get, and I very much appreciate that, Joe.
You're welcome.
I provided you guys with like 5 audio clips of people screaming the F word. I mean, I've got a whole collection of sound that I use on my show. Just people saying F this, F that.
We're going to need that so many times in the next 4 years.
Yeah. The best one is from Ed Wood. That one is my favorite in particular. Just the loud Boris, or what is it? The loud lawn shade. No, now I'm mixing up all of my old-timey monster actors.
So
I have one from, the Ed Wood character saying
yes.
F you. Yeah.
All right, so please, let's join the circular firing squad jerk, whatever it is. Circle something. You retweeted our friend Rachel Bedikofer, who said if the media had covered Trump's plan to end entire government agencies, purge universities, deport dreamers, fund the government entirely by tariffs like they covered Biden's debate performance, we wouldn't be in this mess. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad, Bob, by the way, people as varied as Alan Lichtman, you name it, talking about the same thing we've been talking about, and Chris and Jody and I for years. Disinformation, I'm sorry, is the biggest factor in this election. It would be different if, again, I keep saying, if those had been issues we lost on. If people if they really were doing trans surgery in school against, without parents' permission. If Haitians really were eating our pets. If we really were using FEMA money to give to illegal immigrants and not help people. I mean, that's one thing. But we lost entirely on lies that, that the mainstream media covered as both sides do it, and then the right wing echoes fear, and by the way, the richest man in the world with one of the biggest platforms in the world blasting out. And that's what Alan Lichtman just said. He said the reason the only time he's ever been wrong is he said this massive amount of disinformation.
The problem is that what the Republicans did worked. It obviously worked.
Yes.
So we need, on our side, to figure out a way to counter it, an effective way, because what we did didn't work.
Yeah.
No.
Let's start some lies. Which ones should we come up with?
If it takes lies to fight them, that's what we're going to have to do.
I'm appointing you Secretary of Making Up Lies.
What we did didn't work. We have to do something that works.
Yeah.
What needs to happen is there's a flow of disinformation that goes from people who watch Fox News Channel or listen to the Daily Wire podcasters or whoever. They end up talking to normals, and then normals think that stuff is also true. Right. So there's a flow of this information out of Donald Trump's disgusting yapper all the way into the minds of people who ought to know better. I can't tell you the number of times I got text messages and DMs from people saying, hey, is that true? Is Joe Biden really giving FEMA funds to migrants?
Right.
Are they really doing gender reassignment surgeries in elementary school where they have to do raffles to raise money to buy notebooks? I mean, this is the kind of flow of disinformation. It's not just the disinformation itself. It's how is that disinformation getting to the people who really should know better than to be repeating that stuff. And that's what we have to interdict. That's what we have to interrupt that flow. Because it's either we stop the entire Red Hat entertainment complex, which is going to be problematic. I don't think you can put that down. I mean, it's not something that is even feasible. But what we can do is start to interrupt that flow of disinformation from the weirdos to the normals.
Yeah, thank you. Well, this is it. Alan Lichtman, who, they call him the Nostradamus, right? He's been right about it. And I say he was right about 2000, because, again, that was the beginning of who could have seen the Supreme Court just appointing. Right. Al Gore obviously did win the popular vote and would have won the presidency had they continued the count in Florida. But anyway, he said he blamed Elon Musk and the explosion of disinformation. His keys that he uses have just been historically accurate. You know why, Bob? Because to your point, they're based in fact. It's on about the actual facts about the economy and X, Y, and Z, which again has been provably fantastic under Joe Biden. And so he said he was sounding the alarm. Let's see. Let me just do quickly. He said disinformation has exploded to an unprecedented degree. He said we've seen something brand new this time. Billionaire Elon Musk putting his thumb on the scales. It's been reported his misinformation had billions, literally billions of views. This has spread to every aspect of this election. When I was a kid, I read science fiction books. You know, the premise was a few mega rich people were able to control society. We're not all that far from it, and I'm sounding the alarm, and I don't think I'm the only one. Quickly, he said the premise of the keys is that a rational, pragmatic electorate decides whether the White House party has governed well enough to get 4 more years. But if views of the White House party are controlled by disinformation, particularly driven by those who are so rich they have extraordinary influence beyond anyone else, then maybe the premise of the keys needs to be changed. He said he and his family have faced death threats. He said we face death threats, doxing, swatting, intimidation at our doorstep. We will not be bullied. Federal law enforcement is now is now alerted. And that's just for him saying his prediction this year is based on any normal, sane world is Kamala Harris is going to win.
Yeah, and of course there were extenuating circumstances behind this election that extend beyond disinformation. And I think one of the things was, in a very unorthodox way, the nominee of the party decided not to be the nominee of the party with 3 months to go. And I'm not laying blame or anything like that, but those are just the circumstances of this election. I think if Kamala Harris had maybe another month to campaign, and if Donald Trump hadn't been such a chicken to abandon a second debate, I think we'd be talking about a very different presidential election outcome right now.
I mean, that's what I keep saying. In some ways, everybody's right and everybody's wrong. What's the point?
Yeah, right. Unless we have a time-traveling DeLorean.
I mean, if Kamala had gone farther on the Palestinian issue, she would have lost the Jewish vote. I mean, she was in such a can't-win situation, and I still think ran a great campaign. So
and there's something that can't be measured about the situation we find ourselves in with many, many voters, and that is the notion of malaise. I think a lot of people felt as though we were in a period of malaise, and they remembered back to 2018 or 2019 thinking, well, we weren't in malaise. I didn't feel bad about things then until everything went sideways and hundreds of thousands of Americans suffocated to death because of Donald Trump's negligence. But they were just, for some reason, memory holing the disaster that was COVID and going back to what happened before COVID and thinking that, well, if we get that guy back, it's going to be like it was before COVID. And it's never going to be like, the prices are never going back to 2019. I got news for everybody. It's not going to happen unless there's a gigantic economic recession, depression, whatever, that forces prices to go down because no one can buy anything.
Obama's economy was really good in the beginning of the Trump years. So it's just
right. And
Bob,
people also forget.
And Bob, you're right. I mean, I agree with some. That yes, we can't feel like we're lecturing or talking down to people if they don't feel good. But part of why they don't feel good is because of the relentless media obsession with everything's bad, the economy's bad, Biden's old. I mean, of course that affects. It's not the actual economy; it's people's perception of the economy based on the media and the right-wing ecosphere. Yeah,
that's what happens. You get a lot of folks who don't cover politics, don't follow politics the way we all do. They just only understand it casually. They still vote in every election, but they're not really ensconced in it up to their eyeballs like we are. And so consequently, they'll be walking by the TV and someone else in the house will have MSNBC on and they'll catch a little bit of that, or Fox News or CNN or whatever. And they'll hear something about, well, it's a recession is impending. It's going any day now. There's going to be a recession, and they think, oh, I guess things are terrible. There's going to be a recession soon, and so that seeps into the brains of people, and that's, I think, a contributing factor here. I think the news media, the worst year for the news media. I've been saying this over and over again. I've never seen political journalism this god awful. In the however many years since the 80s, I've been following politics. So it's staggering and not surprising that we ended up in this situation, given not just the disinformation, but the news media covering the odds of the election rather than the stakes of the election. Yeah. And they're still doing it to an extent. I haven't watched any cable news since election night, but I imagine...
Selfishly, a lot of people have said they're only listening to me and you.
Yeah, I mean, but the one thing I never heard on election night was things are going badly for Kamala Harris and democracy right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't even hear that. We didn't get any of the stakes on election night when things started to go sour. That, this means bad news.
And by the way, Republican Party
democracy.
Did zero introspection and finger pointing when he lost the popular vote twice
That's
They
right.
just double and triple down. It's
Yeah.
just they count on us doing this circular firing squad. I mean, to your point, Michelangelo Signorelli said MSNBC and CNN are finding out the hard way with plummeting ratings that people will not watch them if they're going to engage in endless finger pointing at phantom targets and bash whole communities. It's like they have to fill space or whatever. If you want your viewers back, fight for democracy with no both sides do it BS, night and day. I mean,
Yep.
so I think that's part of, Bob, again, I don't know how else to say it. Like, I understand the points about, but I think it was you on your show that I first heard Rachel Bidikofer say her first polling when Biden was elected is Republicans said the economy sucks now. I mean, it's just part of it is this tribalism. We're never going to, the country's always, I guess now, we're not going to have 64s and 84s anymore. We're always about 50-50 because of this misinformation. And by the way, it's not like disinformation is going to stop now. They're going to say everything Donald Trump does is fantastic and everything's better now, right? Whether it is or not.
Yeah, yeah. About what Rachel was saying. Look, there's so many things that we ought to be doing right now, and I think a lot of people are spending a lot of time pointing the finger at Democrats, what they could have done, what they couldn't have done, and what they should have done, and that's that always happens every year.
Yeah,
Look,
of
I think one of the most important things that we can do moving into this dark ride is last time Donald Trump got in. We talked about supporting press institutions. Everybody go and sign up to subscribe to the New York Times and the Washington Post. We got to make sure we stand by these institutions. I think this time around we've got to support independent news media.
Yeah.
Whether it's an organizations like ProPublica or the Stephanie Miller Cinematic Universe. These are things that I think will help guide us through
Bob,
all of this.
Again,
and even those of us who are part of it are also looking for those
I'm
kinds
sorry,
of sources.
we're the truth tellers. It'd be different if Biden did crash the economy. You know what I mean? But I mean, we are just telling, are we lying? That unemployment's at an all-time low, the stock market's at an all-time high, wages, all of inflation back down to pre-pandemic levels. I mean, and obviously, immigration reform we could have gotten done. Republicans and Trump are solely the ones that stopped that. What else? Corporate price gouging. That's Kamala Harris talked a lot about that, and greedflation, and what we do about that.
Right.
I mean, I can only hope for all of our sakes that Donald Trump is as incompetent at fascism as he is in everything else in his life.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say that. One of the things that occurred to me yesterday when I saw the news about this Doge thing that Elon Musk and Vivek are going to be running, it occurred to me, oh, yeah, that's right. You shouldn't underestimate their incompetence. These are stupid people who, just the very fact that Donald Trump is floating the idea of Pete Hegseth running the Department of Defense, the guy who hasn't washed his hands after using the John in 10 years.
Oh my God.
I'm surprised Donald's
He
even
said there's
willing
no
to be in
such
the
thing
same
as
room
germs.
that guy.
Oh,
Yeah, just disgusting.
real men
completely
don't
out of
wipe.
his depth.
Oh, God.
Yeah, they're going to take the not even the guy. He's the weekend giggling couch tumor.
Right.
He's not even he's not even one of the giggling couch tumors from the main show during the
God.
week. He's the second stringer, and now this guy is at the top of the list for running the biggest bureaucracy in the history of the
Between
world.
him and
he
Bobby
run-
Kennedy, the next pandemic, don't wash your hands and don't
Right.
get a vaccine.
That's
Let's
right.
go.
And didn't Hegseth
God.
also run for Senate from Minnesota and lose?
I think so.
I think he
Right.
did.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
Right.
So he's a
then,
loser.
This whole thing with, just to be clear about this Elon Musk, Vivek, Department of Government Efficiency nonsense, what they're going to do is they're going to issue a report first. And that report's going to drop around July 4th, 2026. But I say around because we all know that these people are incompetent and things run late and so on. And so that report comes out, and it's going to be wildly unpopular. Again, don't underestimate their incompetence. This is going to be
Thank you.
silly. Last time around, they assigned Jared Kushner to do this,
Right.
and it never got off the ground.
Yeah.
So
Let
that's
me-
what we got. One of the things, we look for the helpers. We also look for the incompetence. It'll make us feel better.
Real quick,
That these
I was going way too long with
nitwits-
you, but I got Don Winslow tweeted, Democrats leaving this platform, Twitter, is another stupid mistake. I agree.
Yeah.
I'm not going to quit. I've got no place else to go, but I'm not ceding any space to them. Like I get it, but now everyone's like, oh, now everyone went to Threads. Oh, that sucks. We got to go to Blue Sky now. I mean, I'm not ceding, because isn't that, Chris, what you always say about us staying in our bubble, like not watching Fox News I don't care that there's trolls and Trumpers on there. I'm going to stay in the fight. I'm not leaving anywhere because I don't want to see Trumpers. I'm going to go to Blue Sky.
I think people are leaving because they don't want to support Elon Musk.
That's what that
why.
is.
Yeah, that's why.
It's not
about
I'm
Twitter,
segueing
it's about
away.
Elon.
But I mean, do I have time to give my metaphor about what's
Yeah.
going on with Twitter? Because remember when Johnny Carson left the Tonight Show, Jay Leno took over. David Letterman wanted that show, but it was already Jay Leno's Tonight Show. It was no longer Johnny Carson's Tonight Show. So what David Letterman was going to be inheriting, was not the old Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. He was inheriting Jay Leno's Tonight Show.
Right.
And they said, well, who wants that? So it's like, well, now we're not saving old Twitter. We're saving Elon's Twitter.
I got it. I'm so sorry, honey. We're so late. Listen,
sure,
I would
sure.
miss the guy that calls me a bulimic ditch licker every day, so I'm not leaving. I'm here with the incredibly handsome Dr. David Silverman to talk about ASEA Renew that I'm holding in my hand. This stuff is amazing. Revitalizing Redox Gel. You hold up, you have you can it comes in drink form, and this is the gel form. I love, first of all, that supermodel Carol Alt will be promoting this. She's taken so many jobs from me, so I am so happy.
Just to give some context, because I have to tell you that this is very unique. This is not, it's not a pharmaceutical, it's not a nutritional product. It's something that our cells make. It's called redox signaling molecules. But bottom line is, our cells make redox signaling molecules. Your body makes it right now, but we all made more of it when we were younger. What's in this bottle is in you. It's in me, right? But I'll be 64 in 2 weeks, and I feel like I'm 30 years old. I've been drinking this for 13 years.
Wow. Doc, what a thrill to meet you and to hear more about this, because, it's you just kind of go, oh, it works, but to hear about the why is fascinating to me. Dr. David Silverman, what a joy and a pleasure, and thank you so much.